Post-Nuptials by Darth Link 22. Chapter 9. Shining Armor. Shining Armor trotted out of the castle's hospital, feeling like the lowest pony in Equestria. The headache he had now was much worse than any he had felt over the last few days, but it was nothing compared to the blow to his ego. The doctors had nearly taken an hour to purge the brainwashing toxins the Changeling Queen had pumped into him, even with what his fiancée had done to reverse the process. Each and every one of them were surprised he could even stand, let alone walk. For the first time in days, he could think clearly. He remembered all the times he had disagreed with the false Cadence, only to agree when he got hit with what he thought was a spell to cure headaches. A spell that was often cast on him without warning, he now realized, and one would only seem to make the headaches worse. The pains they were supposedly curing could have easily prevented if he had the other guards contribute their magic to help him with the spell. It seemed obvious now, like he was blind before, but now he could see. Earlier, he couldn't think about those things. Every time he tried focusing on them, the headaches would worsen until his mind drifted elsewhere. He found nothing odd about the fact that his bride-to-be was acting like nothing like herself, or that he was blind to their history. Then again, he had been too. Even trying to remember how he and Cadence met caused him great pain. But he remembered now. He remembered proposing to her in the castle garden the day after she had gotten back from an important visit to Zabrika for a goodwill mission. He remembered her, or as she told him while in the hospital, the false her, had come to him the next day saying that the last of her men had reported back to her a great threat menacing against Canterlot, and how shield spells needed to protect the city. He remembered her early insistence that she allow her to cast anti-headache spells on him, a precautionary measure that seemed to do nothing. He remembered her apologizing for not doing the spell right, and how she insisted on casting it again and again until she performed it correctly, which he now understood meant that when he stopped registering that every spell would make him feel worse, not better. He remembered his faith and pride in Little Sister. Even while he was angry with her, there was a small voice calling to the pain, begging him to have himself checked out before dismissing Twilight. He wondered how loud the voice would have been had he not been under the faux bride's influence. Would he have listened? He wanted so badly to believe he would have, but it was impossible to say. He slowed to a near stop as he thought of his sister. She had been right to worry about them drifting apart. In their younger days, he had practically been his shadow at times, following him to all manners of things and idolizing him. He had been protective of her, perhaps too much so. Once she had moved into the castle, she didn't quite know how to defend herself from the bullies there. And how long distance had their relationship become? Being captain of the guard required him to travel a bit, but he never realized just how much until a year ago. As he moved to Ponyville without his input, he hadn't been there to congratulate her on the awakening of the element of magic. Celestia had intentionally sent him far away from Canterlot and Ponyville, knowing he would have kept Twilight under lock and key during Nightmare Moon's reign. He hadn't been there to celebrate her knighthood, defeating Discord, having been out of the country. The previous heartwarming ease passed at her last birthday. He had been out of the country both times and missed her. The other bearers, friends with whom she had shared a deep bond, hadn't even known he existed. She hadn't written many letters, nor ever come for a visit whenever she had been in town. Of course, he was not blameless for leaving her out of major life decisions. He had begun dating Cadence just 6 months ago. The feelings he had been too shy to tell her about came out, and he confessed his love. She returned the feelings, and they fell deep in love so very fast. He never wrote to tell Twilight of his relationship when it started, or when he decided to propose. Nightmare Moon, Discord, dragons, and an Ursa Minor. Twilight had faced them all threats he should have been stopping but didn't. He doubted if he even could have. Even his victory over the Changeling Queen had been made possible through her heroics. For someone who ran Equestria's army, he seemed to do remarkably little in the way of dealing threats to Celestia's subjects. He had to scoff at the irony. Since he was a fool, he had dreamed about saving Equestria from terrible creatures, and it had been his sister doing it instead. As soon as the Changelings had been expelled from Canterlot, Twilight immediately began directing orders to the others to get the wedding back up and running in 3 hours. The others were incredulous that it could be done, but followed without hesitation regardless. No one wanted to doubt her now. He had desperately wanted to talk to her then, Celestia hadn't given him a chance. She moved both him and his future wife to the hospital wing. Cadence had anything but a slight malnutrition and a dirty coat, and after a quick bath was released to the kitchen to sample the Apple family's cooking. Now, finally free of the darkness scrutiny, he sought out his sister. To his relief, he found her in the ballroom with Cadence and Pinkie Pie, going over the reception plans. Carefully, so the two mares dancing at the other end couldn't see him, he got Twilight's attention. "Shiny! You're finally out! Are you okay?" He smiled half-heartedly. "I can think better than I could have the last few days." "Great! I'll tell Cadence you're better, and she'll be thrilled that—" "No, Twilight," he said quickly. "I really need to talk to you now, before we do anything else." Lavender Unicorn's mood changed from happy to nervous quickly. "Okay. What do you want to talk about?" "Not here. Let's go to my quarters." "Sure." They walked in silence, though they walked quickly, as Twilight was adamant about not getting too far behind schedule. They entered Shining Armor's living space, the elder unicorn shutting the door behind them and locking it. "All right. What's wrong?" Twilight asked, looking at her brother with concern. "Twilight, I want to call off the wedding." For the following 5 seconds, the room became so quiet that the captain of the guard could swear he heard the sound of his sister's eyes stretching to twice the normal size. "What?" The younger sibling shouted incredulously, not believing what she was hearing. "How? How can you do this now?" "Twilight, how can I marry her now? I let that monster imposter act as her for 5 days. The entire time she was starving in those caves, and I was up here, completely oblivious to her suffering. According to her, she was kidnapped right after I proposed to her. I let it happen under my nose. I'm not even married to her yet, and I already let her down. Shiny. Then I let that faker waltz in and tell me her sources knew of a potential threat to Canterlot. The details were so vague, but I still let her talk me into casting that shield around the city, and to let her zap me with those spells to brainwash me. I just gave that disgusting bug everything she needed to keep me weak and distracted while she fed off me. Shiny. And you! I let you down! I verbally backhooked you in front of your friends and the princess without even checking what you were saying. I got every pony you care about to walk out on you without a second thought. All those years, I promised to protect you and keep you safe. And today, I hurt you worse than any of the changelings did. Please listen. So let's review. I failed as a husband, a brother, and as captain of the guards, all in one fell swoop. The 3 things I'm supposed to be good at, and I couldn't do any of them. I'm a fraud. I think. No. I know Cadence can do better than me. He dared looked up to his sister. She was going wide-eyed in shock, completely flabbergasted by her brother's choice of words. He sighed. Look, I know what you're going to do. You're going to try and talk me out of this, but I've made up my... As it turned out, he didn't know what Twilight was going to do. He clearly not expected to find himself on the floor with an achy jaw and his sister's hoof on the side of his face. Jeez, Twilight! You were being an idiot, she said coldly, sternly. You needed that. Now, get up and get ready to get married. What? No, Twilight, I can't do that to Cadence. No, you can't do this to Cadence. This is the that you can't do to Cadence. What? Twilight gave his exasperated sigh. You can't back out on this now. You'll break Cadence's heart. But, no! You're not going to ignore me this time. You're going to listen. Shining Armor quieted himself. Bringing up his dismissal of his sister earlier had been an effective tactic, even if it did make her feel dirty for doing it. Twilight sighed as her expression and her tone softened. You saw how she looked when she came out of that cave. Like she hadn't eaten or slept in days. But when I made her way out, she went running for the surface. Running to you. I heard her cry and sob, praying to Celestia you were okay. Even after going through Tartarus the past 5 days, you were on her mind. I knew seeing that she was the mare for you. She loves you more deeply than anything. I can't let you get cold hooves now. Not after all she suffered through to be with you. She wants you, Shiny. To her, there is no pony better. But he began to protest, but she gently put her hoof on his mouth to silence him. The Changelings fooled every pony. If anything, you should be feeling the least guilty here. You spent the last few days brainwashed. You weren't yourself. I'm willing to bet that if you hadn't been, you would have seen right through that bug's disguise. I would have had to do anything. And I'm sure the only reason you let her zap you in the first place was because you trusted Cadence enough to let her do that. You're not unworthy of her. She doesn't think so. And that's really all that matters. She suffered through a lot this week. If you call off the wedding now, it will kill her. You can't do that to her. Shiny Armor looked at his sister, stunned. What? Are you sure? Twilight smiled sadly. Have you learned? She began, but stopped midway. Her remark wasn't the best thing right now. Sure, completely. The Changeling Queen fooled every pony. But even if you hadn't been brainwashed, her tone said, well, I still wouldn't have believed you if you hadn't believed me. He was taken aback. She continued. My friends, well, they had good reason to not believe me. I made it clear to them I didn't like the imposter. After listening to my whine about it so much, they had every reason to think I was just jealous. Plus, yeah, I guess I have a tendency to overreact. You see, there was this one incident right after we defeated Discord. You don't have to tell me, he asserted. I know what happened. Twilight blinked. You do? Sayara sighed. Celestia told me. I asked her to keep me up to speed on anything that happened to you while I was away. It made me feel guilty. His sister once again was shocked. What? How? Twilight, you were right about to worry about us drifting apart. I missed you getting the element of magic. I missed you defeating Nightmare Moon and bringing Princess Luna home. I missed you defeating Discord. And then I wasn't there to help you through everything afterward. I mean, the princess told me you weren't healed by the elements like every pony else. And if half the things I heard about Discord are true, it must have been horrible. It was, she said softly, looking away. I never wanted anything to be out of place again. Her older brother sighed, nuzzling the younger pony with sympathies. I must shoulder Twilight. I've seen what war can do to a pony. No one blames you for losing your head afterward, but I blame myself for not being there for you. I should have taken a leave, come to see you. Shiny, no, she said. Nothing that happened was your fault. You need to quit apologizing for being flawed like every other pony. I can't help it. Remember when we were foals? We talked with each other about everything. Every night we walked about how much closer we were getting to our goals. I told you how much stronger I was getting, how much better I was at getting my drills. You told me what you read about every day, how everything worked. It was kind of embarrassing not being able to keep up with a 6-year-old on mystical theory. He met it with a bless. I couldn't help but smile. You remember how mad I got when I couldn't be there for your entrance exam? I begged Mom and Dad to let me take off school so I could get you in. But they said no, and I missed you getting your cutie mark. You wouldn't talk to our parents for a month after that, Twilight remembered fondly. Even after you went to live at the castle, we still visited once a week. We still stayed close. Then I actually enlisted and had to go away for basic training. That's when it all started, isn't it? We saw each other less and less. I was surprised when you just upped and moved to Ponyville without even telling me. Twilight grins. So I guess I'm to blame for us drifting apart, huh? We both are. He sighed. I never even told you I was dating Cadence. It never even occurred to me you would be upset by it. Twilight looked away from her brother for a moment. I'm sorry. I guess I really had no right to be that mad and not being told about the wedding directly from you. Maybe not, he said. But I don't blame you. I could never be mad at you for too long. There was a long silence. Eventually she let down again. Tears were forming in his eyes. Look at you. He blinked. What? All this time I've been thinking of you as my little sister. The filly who always followed me around, looking up to me with those wide eyes. But look. You grew up. You've done more in the last year than most ponies do in a lifetime. It looks like this is the only beginning of it. I gotta say, I've never been more proud to be your brother. That's why I was crying. Stop. No, you deserve to hear this. No, I don't! She yelled. Shiny Armor stopped. She wasn't crying out of happiness, he realized, but self-loathing. I was an idiot. I didn't think it was a bad idea to just barge in during the rehearsal and accuse her. I could have just gone to Celestia and told her what I saw, like a full-grown mare. But no! I had to act like a fool! I'm so embarrassed. He put her hoof to her head, her cheeks fuzzy. Twilight, no, what? No! Don't you try to justify me! I acted like an idiot. Everybody had good reason to not believe me. They probably thought I was relapsing again. It sounds like it's bothering you. He nodded, feeling like an idiot for not being able to come up with anything more comforting than to stating the obvious. You want to talk about it? I'm scared. What have I been wrong? She sighed. I would have lost everything. You, Cadence, my friends, and Princess Celestia. Everything I worked so hard for would have been gone. She groaned, sitting down, clenching her stomach. Just thinking about it makes me sick. Am I really just one mistake away from losing everything? I'm sure it's not that bad. He tried to assure her, sitting as well. I mean, I don't know how I would have reacted if I had been in my right mind. I probably would have been mad, but I would have forgiven you. He paused, wondering what to say next. Are you mad at your friends? A little, she admitted, sounding guilty. I know I shouldn't be, but they hurt me. I don't know. I mean, sometimes they get on me about overreacting, but am I really? Do they really have that little faith in me? Am I that bad? Sayama sighed. I don't really know. That's a side effect of us drifting apart. I don't really know. But here's what I do know, No. Princess Celestia trusts you. She's very proud of you. I always hear her bragging to visiting adversaries about you. Nearly all of them think you're her daughter until she corrects them. And today you proved yourself right. You saved me and Cadence and the entire kingdom. If that doesn't earn you some trust, I don't know what will. If I had been wrong, would they have forgiven me? Sauron just smiled. I know they would have. I've been reading your friends' reports. I know everything about you and your friends have been through together. Believe me, they would have. I would have. Twilight looked at the floor. Are you sure? Are you doubting me? He said, playfully poking her in the ribs. She giggled, having always been ticklish there. I'll tell you what. Why don't you talk to your friends about it? I'm sure that would help. I was planning to tomorrow, when everything's cooled down. We still have a wedding to plan. You are getting married, right? She asked, giving a completely serious look. I guess. That depends on one thing. And what's that? If you'll be my best mare again. Twilight smiled, but she gave a sigh that sounded like she was trying to make it exasperated. Shiny, why are you asking a question you already know the answer to? Because I'd like to hear it out loud. Well, I guess I will be if... If? Shining Armor asked, genuinely confused, and said she had to hook for such a thing. When I get married, you have to be the one giving me away. Deal? He gave her a faint smile. Tears began to form. Now you're asking me questions you know the answer to. He nuzzles his sister again. As soon as the honeymoon is over, I'm coming to visit you in Ponyville. You don't have to. Yes, I do. I'm not making this mistake again. I want to meet your friends, see your life in Ponyville. He smiled. I'll be sure to set out an extra bed for you and Cadence. It turned out Twilight didn't talk to her friends at the earliest possible opportunity. She had been caught off guard by the fact that they had felt such guilt. She focused on them. She decided to wait a few more hours before having to talk, though part of her said that was a bad idea. Besides, there was really no time. The reception was starting, and she wasn't going to miss her chance to sing. By the end of the night, she was so exhausted she wanted to crawl back to her suite and go to sleep. But when it had appeared before her with one final task for the evening, the night ended with her curled up next to her mentor, feeling quite relieved things were back to normal between them. Shining Armor sat in the carriage as it led the outskirts of Canterlot. His wife curled up at his side, asleep. This was the day he had broken his sister's heart. The day a large army had sworn to the capital of Equestria on his watch. The day he realized he allowed the mare he loved to suffer for nearly a week. The day he got taunted down by his little sister. Cadence stirred at his side, nuzzling deeper into her husband's chest. He smiled. Whatever horrors the day may have brought on him, he couldn't have been happier now. Bonus chapter. Honeymoon. Cadence, will you marry me? Time stood still.
Will I marry you? The other guard said playfully. Gee, I don't know. I mean, you're handsome, playful, nice. You're captain of the guards, and you have a cute flank. But why should I marry you?
I'll take you anywhere you want on your honeymoon.
I can go anywhere I want anyway. Diplomatic missions, remember?
She said decently. Well, you'll get Twilight as a sister?
Wait,
She said, sounding offended.
you think I'd marry you to get closer to another mare? Do you really think I swing that way?
Shining Armor blushed. What? No,
Cadence giggled. Only kidding. Though Twilight is kind of hot.
Cadence! Shining Armor shouted, prompting her to laugh.
Oh, you're so easy to rile up. You know what? I've always wanted a sister. So I guess I'll marry the most wonderful stallion in the world.
With that, she pulled her newly declared fiancé in for another tender kiss. And then he broke the kiss. The stallion had the goofiest, lovesick smile he had ever seen. Then he began jumping around like a colt half his age, shouting, "Yes, yes, 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 yes!" In a flash, he picked up the acorn and spun her around, causing her to laugh along with him. A quick trip and they both landed in the grass, leading them to rolling around and laughing. I would just like to point out that my headcanon is that they got engaged at the gala.
Well, this has been fun, but I need to get back to work, and so do you, Captain.
She laughed, giving him a quick kiss before lifting herself up.
The last of my ponies should be coming in for Sibling with the reports, so I'm probably going to be busy all night, but we'll have lunch tomorrow. Then we'll make a wedding date.
Sounds good, Shining Armor answered happily, still looking love-struck. I've got to go inspect my troops anyhow.
Go get 'em.
She laughed, giving her fiancé's flank a playful smack. He leapt and blushed, but never lost a smile. With one final goodbye, Cadence began trotting up to her office, waving friendly hellos to the guards as he passed. Finally, she reached the double doors and thanked the guards as they allowed her to enter. The doors behind her closed as they walked up to her desk, which had his chair turned away from her. Lighting up her horn, she turned the chair around. To her surprise, she found herself already sitting in it. "What the?" she gasped in surprise. Gleaming wickedly, the imposter's horn glowed a sickly green. In an instant, unnatural green fire surrounded Princess Cadence. She screamed and cried for help, but her doppelganger merely cackled at her fruitless crying. The flames enveloped her, and in a flash she was gone. Cadence bolted upright, giving a shout of fright. She took a quick look around. She was in her carriage. In a flash, a pair of strong forelegs wrapped around her and pulled her close. "It's okay. It's okay. It's just a bad dream," Shining Armor assured, stroking her mane.
Cadence sighed. Okay, I just had a flashback there. Of the Changeling Queen getting me.
She rubbed her forehead with her hoof. She felt her husband sighing, thanks to being pressed against his chest. She turned to him, cupped his cheeks in her hooves.
"Don't you dare blame yourself for any of this,"
she warned. "What?" he said, picking up in alarm. "What makes you think I'm doing that?"
"Twilight told me about the conversation you had with her."
The stallion's eyes widened. She told you?"
Cadence nodded sadly. "You should be thankful. I don't want you thinking that way."
She started kissing him on the cheek. "I still should have been more attentive," he said sadly. "I promised myself I'd always protect you."
She smiled. "I know. I remember when you got your cutie mark, don't you?"
Shiny nodded. "How could I forget? That was a long time ago. You hadn't even taken the trials yet." It was just after Twilight became a part of the family.
"When I met her for the first time, I saw you in the park. You were all excited to summon your new sister. You took me up to her, and she was laying in that full carrier, giggling and cooing. She was so cute. Then your parents gave us some popsicles. We sat next to her and ate them. And when we turned back to her, she was gone. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!"
Twilight Velvet said frantically.
"Quick, everybody, spread out and find her!"
With that, the three members of the Sparkle family and Cadence split in 4 directions to look for the missing infant. Shining Armor headed north, searching desperately for a small purple foal. Suddenly, a loud cry echoed through the park. Recognizing it as a baby's cry, he ran in that general direction. To his immense relief, he found his sister. To his immense unrelief, the reason she was crying was because a stray dog was approaching her. growling a low and dangerous growl. He didn't remember jumping in front of the dog. It happened so fast he never even registered it. But he did remember staring the stray down, making it bluntly clear what would happen if he came a step closer. It was not intimidating. With a snarl and leapt forward, Shining Armor quickly responded by striking the dog across the muzzle with a swing of his hoof. The dog was knocked to the side with a pained whine. He shook off the pain and glared at the pony, who responded by glaring back, trying to look as intimidating as possible. The dog backed away and ran off. Shining Armor breathed a sigh of relief just as he was turned to his sister. At this point, his parents and Cadence came up to him.
Oh, thank goodness!
Velvet exclaimed, scooping up her daughter on her forelegs.
Oh, thanks, Celestia, you found her, Shining.
Cadence wrapped her forelegs around his neck.
That was so brave of you,
she said, planting a kiss on his cheek.
You're like a royal knight.
Young stallion blushed a deep strain of Kristen. Cadence looked down his flank.
Shing!
Gave a small gasp.
Shiny, look!
Shining Armor looked at his flank and gasped happily. My cutie mark!
That was the day I fell in love with you,
Cadence told him. The stallion felt his heart jump. Really? She gave a warm smile.
Not only did you risk yourself to save your baby sister, you decided you wanted to do that for the rest of your life. That was so brave of you, my shiny knight.
He returned the kiss, but broke off before she was ready. If you fell in love with me that soon, why did you wait so long to tell me? Cadence suddenly found the floor of the carriage interesting.
Well, everything that happened afterward. My parents dying, then I went away to do the trials.
You had every police agency in Equestria looking for you, he remembered. Her parents' death had been a high-profile event. 2 members of the Princess Cabinet suddenly dying was news enough, but it had been how it happened. A visiting Griffin dignitary came straight to their home for a meeting and got into an argument with her father over trade routes across borders, which ended up escalating into a physical fight. In the scuffle, an iron had been knocked over and the flames spread quickly. Luckily, Cadence had been at a sleepover with friends that night. Both her parents, however, weren't so lucky. The poor child had been distraught for days and inconsolable even though she stayed with Shining and his family. Cadence? Shining Armor asked slowly, opening the door to the guest room.
What?
She asked wickedly. I brought you dinner, he said kindly, levitating a plate with a daisy sandwich behind him. Come on, you have to eat something. To his surprise, the filly raised her head and motioned to him to come in. He placed the sandwich in front of her, and to his immense relief, she began eating. You have your appetite back? Are you feeling better?
A little, she said finally. I still feel horrible, but I don't want to mope around anymore.
That's a relief, the cult sighed. What do you want to do instead?
Do you remember that day a year ago when you got your kitty mark?
Of course.
Well, you got it because you wanted to help ponies, to make Equestria a better place. My parents also thought that way. I wouldn't be able to live with myself unless I was willing to do the same.
So, what are you going to do? Cadence was quiet for a moment.
I'm going to become a princess.
Shining Armor couldn't help but smile. Following your parents' footsteps, huh?
It's the best way I know to help ponies. But I'm hoping to climb further up the hierarchy than they did.
That's a pretty tall order, the stallion noted. But I know you can do it. And once you do, I'll be there for you. He placed a hoof over to hers, which she smiled gratefully.
You're such a gentle colt,
she giggled, pecking him on the nose and his face turning red. He stuttered. I guess you're going to sign up for some law classes once you go back to school? That should be step 1.
Actually, I have something else for step 1.
Shining Armor carried an eyebrow. And what's that? Cadence gave a sly smile and booped his nose.
That's for me to know and you to find out.
Despite not getting an answer, the cult couldn't help but smile. She was getting a sense of her playfulness back. Things were going to be okay. But things weren't okay. The next morning when Shining's parents came to check on her, they found her gone. For 3 long months, the country searched for the missing child. Her disappearance made relations with the Griffin Kingdom, already strained thanks to the actions of the dignitary, stretched at a breaking point. Such a sad child missing had Canterlot in an uproar. Then she returned with a pair of wings, Earth Pony strength, and a cutie mark on her flank. Not even Celestia knew how to react. For all the troubles he had caused, she had also done the impossible. The youngest pony to ever manage the trials had returned, ready to do everything she could to make Equestria a better place. She was guaranteed a position as a princess right then and there. For the rest of her childhood, she was groomed for her future position. Though, she still took time to visit Shining Armor and vows at Twilight. Kane sighed.
I guess I really didn't have time for a relationship then.
Neither did you, I guess. You were always busy with training. I would have made time for you, he said bluntly.
I knew you would have,
She answered, kissing him again.
but it would have cost you your dream, your special talent. I wasn't going to make you choose between the two. You should desire to protect the ponies I admire.
What did I do to deserve you?
You're you. That's enough.
Cadence? Shining Armor asked slowly. The unicorn looked away from the scenery high on top of the castle.
Yeah?
The stallion answered.
Well, insightful, Cadence chuckled.
Shining Armor blushed and looked away.
Hey,
she said gently.
I was just thinking. What's wrong?
I have to tell you something. She gave a worried look.
Why? What's wrong?
Nothing. He started quickly. Nothing. I have something to tell you.
Well, whatever it is, tell me.
Cadence,
Come on, you're a brave, strong knight. You can tell me. Shiny, remember when my parents died? You're right there beside me the whole time. Whatever you have to say, it won't get me to stop liking you. Just come out and
I love you. Cadence stopped her eyes going, why? What? I love you, alright? Ever since you got back from the trials. I love the way you put everyone else above you. I love how you dedicated you are to helping others. I love the way you laugh and how you're always there for me. I think you're the most gorgeous pony in Equestria, and I want to marry you someday and have foals. And please say yes, because I don't think I can take it if you said no. Silence lingered for a few seconds as Cadence just stared at the nervous stallion, sweating bullets in front of her.
Finally!
She exclaimed. Before Shining Armor could register this reaction, she closed the gap between them and kissed him. In surprise, he hastily pulled back. What?
What took you so long? I was 5 days from asking you, she smirked. Now, how about that kiss?
She said this, trying to sound seductive, though it sounded more hilarious. Aren't we moving a bit fast?
What do you mean?
I haven't even taken you out to dinner yet. Really, Shining Armor felt Cadence's magic tug out.
Well, let's go now!
It's mid-morning.
We'll get brunch instead.
Wow, you move fast. In response, Cadence turned to her new cold friend grin.
Well, I want my kiss, and whatever it takes to get to that, I'm going to do it.
Suddenly, Cadence felt a jerk. Shining Armor was now resisting her pull. In fact, he was pulling her towards him. You know what? There's a tire us with that, he said, kissing her on the lips.
I don't think I ever taught him that one. My God, that's the fastest record for ever getting a mare in the ground. Go. I don't think we're ever going to have that kiss.
Cadence said dreamily.
She licked her lips. Unless, of course, you want to try right now.
Despite having felt his wife's frisky nature for months now, Shining Armor couldn't help but blush. Still as eager as ever, I see.
Why? She cried. Don't you like that?
He laughed. Completely. I never once regretted you, ever.
Same here. Even if we did have our arguments.
She couldn't help but smirk at that, despite the topic. The things they had fought about had been, in retrospect, petty and foolish things to fight about. Where to go for a weekend getaway, who's home to sleep at night, the usual things a new couple would fight about. Half of them they couldn't even remember later. Perhaps the biggest issue was how intimate they could get before this very night. Shining Armor was adamant on waiting until the night before they could come together, but his fiancée wanted it sooner. It had been the biggest fire for them, though both parents told him he was lucky that was all they faced. Until early today, he hadn't really appreciated that. I still let you down today.
No, don't you dare, she said firmly. Listen to me. The only one to blame for anything that happened was the Changeling Queen. Everything was her fault. What anybody else did as a result was just fallout.
But I have a responsibility, Shining Armor argued. I'm supposed to be on my guard.
You can't be on guard for something you didn't even know about. No pony did. Even Princess Celestia was surprised they existed. You're a wonderful pony. But you're still just a pony.
Shining Armor looked at her for a moment, then sighed. I still feel terrible. At this, Cadence gave a sly smile, earning her husband's confusion. Like your lips, he moved up to his ear.
Don't worry. I'll be fixing that very soon.
Shining Armor blushed a deep red, earning a giggle from her.
You're still too easy.
He gave her an embarrassed smile. Well, It feels good to know that you only want to do that with me, he said awkwardly.
I wouldn't be too sure. Twilight's cutie.
Cadence! Special chapter, Outrage! Twilight Velvet was not happy. It was her son's wedding day, a supposed happy occasion, but it ended up being one of the most frightening and confusing days of her life. First, she and her husband had arrived to the news that Twilight had fallen ill, too sick to attend the ceremony. When he had pushed to see her, Celestia had assured her she was a good host, and just enjoy her son's special day. Then, suddenly, Twilight showed up, looking disheveled but in very good health. Then another version of her daughter-in-law. Then, she nearly died in the ensuing invasion. Then, in the cleanup, no pony would answer her questions about what had happened. Twilight only told her not to worry. She explained everything after the wedding. Shiny Armor seemed to get sick to his stomach just thinking about what had happened, and requested the same. Celestia couldn't even be reached. She was being waited on by her personal medical team after her defeat, and only came out for the ceremony. Then, at the reception, both children continued to remain tight-lipped. Every press of pride resulted in a nervous, "Let's not talk about it now," and "After signing and Cadence leave, okay?" Then Celestia flew off. Then hours later, Luna followed. She returned, just missing her son leaving, but in plenty of time to snatch her daughter away before they had a chance to speak. She was done. Normally her husband would have advised against this, but he was fed up as well. That's how the pair ended up entering the throne room uninvited. "Miss, you can't come in." "Don't tell me what I can and can't do!" she yelled to the guard. "The princess owes me an explanation!" "But you can't!" "I'll let her through." Luna was sitting at her throne, was currently had a fold-out desk in front of it, and was looking through an old law book. "I'm combing through some of the old protocols for war. It looks like we might have one soon. Please, sit down." Luna was silent as the pair made their way to the long run. "Now then, what troubles—" "Where's your sister?" "She's in bed," Luna responded, the velvet's fury with an unnatural calm. "Then where's my daughter?" "Where's my daughter?" "In bed with her." "No, not like that." Luna actually stared. Twilight is by her side, comforting her. "Comforting her? Comforting her? What about us? Both my children nearly died today, and I still have no clue what happened. I think we have a right to know." "No pony told you." "I can't say I'm surprised." She marked her book and put it down. "And what's that supposed to mean?" Velvet was so close to yelling that the two guards stepped forward, but Luna waved them down. "It's a simple event for all involved." "What?" Luna took a deep breath. "I was not present when it happened," Luna said, "but your daughter happened upon the Changeling Queen when she was performing a spell. When she tried to tell every pony, they assumed she was being jealous and—" Velvet's response nearly shattered every window in the room. "What? Do you mean that both my foes were in danger because your sister was too stupid?" "No. Your daughter didn't help her case by—" "Don't pin this on her! You were on high alert, and you let all this happen!" "I think I need to remind you that it was your son that was responsible for calling our kingdom. Perhaps—" "Listen, you! I'm not gonna sit here and listen to some lunatic tell my children messed up! I want to see my daughter now!" Girl! Both Velvet and Night found themselves lifted up by Luna's magic. Through clenched teeth, the princess and the knight spoke. "I will not be insulted over something I had nothing to do with it. If you are upset, I suggest you talk with Twilight Sparkle. Now both of you, out! I have work to do." Before they knew it, boom! Both of them were outside the throne room, the large double doors slamming shut. In a flash, Twilight Velvet was bounding on the entrance. "Open up! I'm not—" Her husband's hoof was on her shoulder, stopping her. "I want answers too, but we're not going to get them from her. Maybe we should just wait until morning." What? And then Velvet started crying. "Why? Why is Twilight spending time with that pony that nearly got her killed and not us?" For a few moments, Velvet sobbed, while her husband patted her back, getting a little misty-eyed by himself. "Let's just go to bed. We can find Twilight and get things straightened out in the morning." Velvet hiccuped and nodded. Getting to her hooves, she began waddling, and the bedroom reserved for them. They had just gotten to the guest hallways when they saw her. Applejack was pushing a large chest of bits into her bedroom. It was only halfway through when she noticed him.
Ah, hi there, you two. Link didn't get a chance to talk much, but
Applejack would piece it together a moment later, but at that moment it was like time itself decided to skip a few seconds. One moment she was greeting Twilight's parents, and the next she was knocked over the chest on the floor of her bedroom, her head splitting from the hoof to the side of her head.
You bitch!
Velvet said, a bit higher than she meant. Nightlight's anger was completely overcome by surprise, and he began backing away. I'll take it you heard about what happened, the cowboy said, trying to keep her voice level.
Yeah, I heard. My daughter came to you with a problem, and you were too busy spreading your hind legs for that fake to listen.
All civility left Applejack at that moment. Get out. Dear.
No, I want answers. Why didn't you listen to her? Why were you just that excited to pretend you were good for something other than playing in the dirt?
Get out.
I'm not leaving until I get an explanation.
Next thing Velvet knew, she was quite a few feet down the hall, thanks to Applejack's strong legs. As he skidded along the rug, her husband ran to help her. By the time they got their bearings together, Applejack had gotten her trunk into her room and locked the door.
You come back! Velvet? Did that hit harder than I think?
You just got bucked across the room!
Do you want that horn snapped off? Because I think that'll probably happen.
Miss Velvet, Mr. Light, I'm afraid I must escort you back to your room.
What? Why?
You're causing a scene. The guard desk spoke to them sternly, but there was some sympathy showing on his face. Princess Luna asked us to keep an eye on you and confine you to your room if you proved problematic.
Me? Problematic? That pony just bucked me down the hallway!
You hit her first. If you don't mind me being foolish. The stallion lit up his horn, and Velvet was in the air. A moment later, and Nightlight was as well.
I want to see my daughter!
Velvet demanded, but that's all she got out before the guarded question silenced her with a spell. I understand, but Miss Sparkle made her decision. She informed me she would talk to you in the morning. The pair still struggled, but the guards paid him no mind. If it means anything to you, the two of you, I'm really sorry for not believing her. I was just a rookie when she came to live here. I saw her grow up. She was the sweetest thing. As they placed them in their room, Nightlight swore he saw a solid tear from the veteran's eye. The door closed, being locked by a magic spell. Velvet banged on for an hour before giving up, breaking down and crying at her husband's forelegs. He cried just as hard. Sleep eventually came, though it was the kind that left them both feeling tired in the morning. A servant came in to take an order for their breakfast, but they still weren't allowed to leave. It was nearly noon before a door unlocked and the pony they wanted to see come in.
Twilight!
Both ponies rushed in and hugged her. She hugged back, deeply and warmly, but after a few seconds she parted from them.
You heard what happened. Yes, we did!
Velvet exploded before her husband could get a word in.
Every pony abandoned you! Every pony! Why didn't you tell us anything? Why did you go off with Celestia instead of telling us?
Twilight looked at the floor. Maybe I didn't handle this exactly right, she said, in a tone so small her parents had to strain to hear her. Then, resolve started to enter her voice as she went on.
Listen, what happened between me and the others was painful, and I'm sorry this had to be your first impression of them. But they've all practically begged me for forgive them, and I had as much to blame for them for not believing me. Twilight, you really want them back after what they did to you?
Twilight was silent for a moment.
Yes, I do. Because what they did recently can't break what they've done for me before. And what they've done for you. They've changed me,
Twilight said. It was clear she was stumbling over the words.
2 years ago, I thought having friends was a waste of time. Now, I don't think I last without them. These last 2 years, they've been the happiest of my life. Even after this, I think it's only getting better.
She trailed out to think
they might have saved my life. Saved your life? They nearly got you killed yesterday!
I told you, the whole mess was my fault too.
But never mind that. The point is that they helped me when I was hurting. And I thought it was appropriate to do the same. Maybe I should have come to talk to you. No, I certainly could have. but it had been a hard day, and I just wanted to put it behind me. Velvet was silent, but tears were in her eyes. Her husband, normally a quiet stallion, decided to step up and speak. Twilight, we were so worried about you. You seemed to be avoiding us all that evening. Have we really drifted apart that much? Well, Shining Armor isn't the only one who never comes by for a visit. Our parents both whispered that. I guess we haven't been as attentive as we should, Nightly admitted. Heartswarming is the only time we see each other. Twilight nodded. We've been drifting apart these last few years. I don't know when it started, but somehow it did. You got so caught up in your work. Mom, I'm happy your books are selling. And Dad, I know any judge in the courts is going to be busy, but it doesn't really make for a good together time. I guess I'm to blame too. My studies are so important to me, and I do so much. The three formed a hug for a little while, and after it broke apart, Twilight went on. You've never met my friends before yesterday. They're good ponies, really, and I wanted to be there for them. They weren't there for you! Maybe. But me doing the same to them won't solve anything. Look what happened to you! Velvet blusted this into a dare host. Nightly rubbed her back on his neck, and Twilight went on. Part of me wanted to yell and scream at them, but it wouldn't have accomplished anything. It would have just widened the gap between us. I can't do that. Even though they hurt me, I still care about them so much. I can't do that to them. Maybe we can handle this the best, Velvet admitted. Maybe, Twilight said. This time there was actual anger in her voice. I'll say you're going to apologize to Applejack and Luna. Believe me, I'm a little mad at them too, but it's my issue. Twilight, I don't like that you were treated that way. I'll deal with it, Mom. I know what I'm doing. Velvet cried. She smiled a bit. I missed you, Grella. I'm sorry. I think there's blame to share. Our family's been falling apart. Then let's get back together. Why don't we come to visit Ponyville for a week? And Twilight put up a huff. I don't think that's a good idea right now. There's still one little thing about this thing I haven't wrapped up. Poor Spike. Our grandson? At her mother's words, Twilight's face pinked. What? No, it's not like that. Velvet gave a knowing smile. Of course, dear. He doesn't care about me in that way. It wouldn't be fair of me to ask him when he might have a real dragon mother waiting for him. Twilight's tone made it clear that last possibility actually worried her a bit. I'm sure she wouldn't have done as half a good job as you would have. Twilight blushed, but kept powering through. Well, he hasn't said a word with me. I think he's afraid to talk to me. Just give me some time to get through them. Nightlight brightened up. So, we'll visit you next week then? Yeah, but look, when's the last time you two took any time off? Really? The couple looked at each other. I guess it's been a while, Nightlight admitted. Then why don't you two take a vacation? Leave Canterlot a while and go do something. It takes him a long time. Nightlight rubbed his chin. That does sound pretty good. Twilight, are you sure? Lavender Unicorn waved her hoof. Please. After what happened, it's all going to be cleaned up around here anyway. I doubt you'll miss much. Well, if you say so. Nightlight smiled. Look at Pat. After you tell Luna and Applejack you're sorry. Of course. Yes, Velvet said. And I hope there's a nice stallion in Plainville you're going to introduce us to. Twilight's eyes twitched. Mom. Spike shouldn't have to grow up without a father, you know. Twilight moaned. Mom! I mean, Shiny can find a mare almost as great as you. Certainly you can. Mom! Nightlight just laughed. Chapter 10. Twilight Sparkle, Round 2. Celestia drifted into consciousness, feeling rested and relaxed. A far cry from her moon the night before. Twilight lay by her side, still quietly slumbering. Having her here, still by her side and loyal, made all the difference. She glanced at her clock, only to find one note hanging beneath it. Dear sister, do not be alarmed at the time. I have visited the sun for you this morning, and will be taking over for your duties for the day. After such an ordeal, you deem deserve a day of rest. Luna. Peons. The ones known as Octavia and Philoscrates are now invited to play on all major Canterlot events due to their skin, but they are forever forbidden from entering the royal labyrinth. Looking up at the clock, Celestia was surprised to see that the sun had indeed been scheduled to rise an hour ago. For a few moments, she had pondered not letting her younger sister take on the day's duties, but decided against it.
She's being offered a day off after over 1,000 years. She could take advantage of it. She looked over at the sleeping Studi, still nuzzled at her side. At the moment, Celestia almost forgot she was a full-grown mare, seeing the little fillies she used to teach and train all those years ago. At that moment, said unicorn began to stir. Her eyes flared open. She slowly lifted her head, taking in her surroundings.
Good morning, my little pony. Stifling a yawn, Twilight looked at her mentor. Good morning, Princess. Are you feeling better?
Celestia gave a smile.
Much, thank you.
I should be thanking you, Twilight said simply. I really needed this. I just needed some assurance that we were back to normal.
Of course, Twilight. Why would I be mad at you now?
Twilight looked at the ground in response.
Can I ask you something?
Celestia tilted her head at a worried angle.
Of course, anything. If I had been wrong, you know, about the fake Cadence, would you have forgiven me?
Much to Twilight's surprise, Celestia spoke her next sentence in an amused tone.
Twilight, I forgave my sister for trying to bring on the eternal night, and that would have destroyed life in Equestria. I think I can forgive you for a single temper tantrum.
Unicorn looked at her mentor with wide eyes. Then, she hung her head and laid it back on the pillow.
Twilight?
Celestia asked worriedly. She leaned down and nuzzled her side.
What's bothering you? It's... Dare I kill again?
She said quietly.
Worrying about something I shouldn't be worrying about. That's why no pony believed me, isn't it?
Celestia sighed.
Twilight, I'm not going to lie. Yes, you do have a tendency to overreact to things, and maybe it did contribute to us not listening to you. But you really have much more faith in yourself than that. We were just as much to blame for not listening to you. How? For all your faults, you are a good pony and a great friend. Your attitude towards Cadence caught me by surprise, and sort of aroused my suspicions. We were on high alert, remember? That was a time any accusation from a trusted source needed to be checked on. It would have only taken me a moment to examine your brother's head for any effects of brainwashing. I made a mistake, an understandable one maybe, but not an acceptable one, not from me. Princess, please, after the smarty pants incident, you weren't in your right mind then. And I thought you were, you would not have been excused so lightly. Well, even so, I still not blame you for not believing me, she said sadly, given my track record. But, Princess, I'm sorry. I have to know. How much faith do you have in me?
Celestia gave a warm smile.
Plenty. Despite all your overreactions, I still have great pride in your reasoning. You deduced the return of Nightmare Moon long after I successfully regulated to a myth in the eyes of mortals. You skillfully led the other bearers on every mission I sent them on. You pulled yourself out of Discord's taint with a mere reminder of the good times you and your friends had.
She looked at her stood and saw something that made her pause. She was crying.
You have faith in me, but I don't have faith in you. I'm always worried that you're going to punish me for trivial things. I'm sorry for that.
Celestia responded by draping a wing over her charge and pulling her in close.
Yes, you do that sometimes. It breaks my heart every time. I don't want you to fear me. I don't want any pony to fear me. I want to be in love, and while my subjects do revere me as a ruler, not a friend, I only have my sister and you. What about my friends? Don't you have them?
I suppose we're getting there,
but they still see me as more of an authority figure than a friend. And Spike is with me as well. I want my subjects to see me as an ordinary pony sometimes. Especially you. I love you, Twilight. Never forget that.
Still crying, the smaller pony rubbed her head against her mentor's neck.
I'm sorry.
Celestia nuzzled her back, her own tears forming.
I think we both grew a little yesterday. I want you to follow. You know, for all the mistakes you've made, I'm proud of you. Even though I broke your heart, you remained loyal to me. You rested my side when I followed. That took great character. Princess, I am a little angry with every pony. I know it makes no sense to me, but... Twilight, that's a perfectly natural response to be upset. But you haven't let your anger with us taint your heart. That's more than a lot of ponies can say. Don't be ashamed of feeling that way.
They stayed together for a few minutes, each enjoying the other's company. Finally, Twilight spoke.
Princess, I was wondering, why do you keep the elements in that vault anyway? Wouldn't it make more sense for us to wear them at all times?
Of all the things Lauren Faust has ever done, I think this plot point was probably the stupidest. Celestia paused for a moment. In a eternal debate with herself, finally she spoke.
What I'm about to tell you remains between us. You may tell your friends, but do even that with caution.
The unicorn's ears perked up, but she nodded.
It's possible for the elements of harmony to be corrupted. Not permanently, of course. They will always triumph over evil in the end. But that said, corruption could last nearly a century. If that were to happen, I shudder to think of the consequences. It would be Discord's reign all over again. Why didn't Discord's corrupt some then? I'm not sure, the princess answered, shaking her head. He's not as clever as he likes to think he is. If he knew, he likely consider it amusing to keep them whole, if no other reason than to mock you. So there's no other way? There is a spell I knew far back when my sister and I wielded them that would have allowed you to absorb them into your bodies until they are needed. Sadly, I lost track of that spell some 600 years ago. I have some of my best magicians working on rediscovering it.
Well, what we need to do is grab a little box, then put the main six on a quest to understand how in connection with their elements they are. Say they pull off a test where their elements are pushed to their limit and they're this close to betraying them, but they stick true to who they are. And then each of them gives a key, and then they can unlock this mystical power called Rainbow Power, and boom! That's their elemental powers. What? It worked in the show. Now Twilight looked hard.
But I thought I was one of your best. You are. But you just made friends, finally, after all those years. Friends which, I needn't remind you, you needed to stay close to in order for the elements to work. I wasn't going to give you any task that would detract you from allowing your friendship to grow. I guess that makes sense.
Twilight conceded.
Smiling, Celestia leaned down and kissed Twilight's head. You needn't worry about it. We'll find it before too long. In the meantime, perhaps it's best you have another talk with your friends. I'm sure they have done some thinking of their own.
Applejack trotted down the hallway, her head still pounding from the night before. She was grateful that Pinky and Fluttershy had volunteered to watch the Cutie Mark Crusaders while she packed. She didn't think she could take their latest plans to be Cutie Mark Crusader baggage packers, or whatever in her current state. However, her gratefulness for loud noises being absent disappeared when Rarity came bounding down the halls.
Applejack!
The farm boy grins. What is it, Rare?
You chipped a hole for something? Twilight is missing! She's not in her room!
She gasped. Your pony rolled her eyes. She probably just got up real early and...
No, Spike says she never came to her room last night!
That set off warning bells.
Well, the Changelings came back and got her. Well, she's stuck in those horrible caves, or an ice block cave somewhere up north, or that icy fog outside Ponyville where some muddy and humidity gets a pony's best maze as as you have.
Applejack arched an annoyed eyebrow. I'm pretty sure it ain't as bad as all that, she deadpanned.
You're correct.
Will's voice confirmed. Both mares turned to see the Princess of the Night walk calmly down the hallway.
Brainslayers?
You're still up? Applejack asked, confused.
Yes, I thought my sister would need her vest after yesterday's trials, so I'm taking her shift today. As for Twilight Sparkle, I sent her to comfort my sister last night. She ended up falling asleep at her side. She's perfectly unharmed, I assure you.
So, even Celestia was feeling bad about not listening to Twilight, huh?
Indeed. I believe these feelings will linger for quite a while. We were all going to speak with her again on the train ride home, Reddy explained. We had all time to think last night, and we decided we all have more to say.
I'm sure Twilight Sparkle has more to say to you.
Yagor nodded. I overheard your apology last night while on patrol. I'm pleased to hear victimization came so easy.
The two more ponies looked at each other for a moment, before turning back to their superior.
Your Highness, we must ask,
Verity began.
would I have believed Twilight Sparkle?
The stunned unicorn nodded.
I shall tell you what I told my sister. I do not know if I would have believed her, since I was not there and she has now been proven correct. However, I would like to think I would have, since after her treatment of me on Nightmare Night, it would have likely aroused my suspicions if she got confrontation with any pony.
Applejack sighed. Yeah, I thought of that last night, too.
Well, do not blame yourself. If every pony had the same view as they did in hindsight, there would be no need to me and my sister to govern you.
I figure. I just want to get to talk over and done with. Your pony sighed.
Indeed.
Verity concerned.
Well then, we better get packed and on the train. The sooner we take off, the sooner we consider this.
As it turned out, Spike had managed to get to the guard, shouting frantic cries that Twilight was missing, before Rarity could inform him otherwise, leading to a very tedious interrogating sequence where the air bearers had to recount several details of their lives to ensure they were not changeling. Fortunately, Luna stepped in after her amusement over the whole incident faded. The train left that afternoon. Twilight spent most of the time with her mentor, simply drinking some tea and chatting on a casual level, something they had not been able to do for quite some time. Spike and the Curing Mark Crusaders took another car, with the three young fillies trying to keep their friend distracted by playing cards. Didn't seem to be working. The 6 other bearers shared another car, with a serious accommodations for the trip back. After all, Twilight was a member of the royal family now. As the train lurched, Rarity nodded to Applejack, who turned to look at her friend.
Twilight, I know we already did this, but we want to talk.
That's fine, she said.
I want to talk with all of you too. Did you allow thinking last night?
Us too. They all sat on the floor in the car in a circle, getting comfortable for what was sure to be a long talk. Twilight spoke first.
All right. I want to hear what all of you had to say first.
Twilight, what we wanted to talk to you about is how you feel about this whole thing. Twilight was caught a bit off guard by this, but realized he shouldn't be.
What do you mean?
Rarity spoke.
Twilight, yesterday you listened to us tell you about how we feel. What we should have been doing is asking how you feel. Is everything all right?
Twilight sifted a bit, unsure how to voice her concerns without saying them.
Not really,
she said at last.
I mean, I guess everything that happened. Well, tell us,
Rarity insisted.
I'm not sure how to say this,
Twilight the Unicorn admitted.
Because, well, it might upset you all to... Twilight, we put you through a lot this week,
Rainbow Dash said bluntly.
I think we could take a little thrown our way. As crudely as she put it, I agree,
Rarity said simply.
Dear, are you angry with us at all?
She looked away from them.
Yes, she said finally. I know I shouldn't be, but...
At that moment, Applejack rose to her host and walked over to her friend, sitting down at her side. You've told us we wouldn't be feeling guilty, but we do, she said simply.
Ain't nothing wrong with being sorrows right now.
Pinky took the space at her other side, giving her friend 2 walls of support.
We let you down, she said, unusually serious. Whatever you say, we were still mean to you.
Twilight spoke to a strained voice.
Maybe, but you were right to think I was just jealous. Do you guys remember Gilda?
Of course, Rainbow Dash noted, her voice becoming heavy.
My closest friend before you guys turns out to be a complete jerk. Well then, do you remember how you reacted to her acting that way?
Pegasus nodded.
I told her I wouldn't let her treat you guys that way. Then she blew up at me and flew off. Exactly. You wouldn't let her be that way, so I shouldn't have expected you to let me act that way.
Twilight finished sadly.
But at least the known buyer don't think you'd be acting like that.
Yeah, you should have, Twilight snapped, but she immediately regretted.
I'm sorry. I just...
Don't you dare stop, Applejack said, both she and Pinky pressing close together.
If you keep this battle up, it's just gonna get worse. We're giving you a chance to say anything you want. Just say it. Unicorn remained silent for a moment, then gritted her teeth. Yes, I'm mad at you, okay? You completely dismissed me for some pony you just met, and some pony who had been mean to you this whole time. It hurt, okay? She glared at daggers at her friends across from her. Rainbow Dash flared shiny rarity, leaning back a little. I, I. She stared through her anger. After a moment, however, she sighed and leaned against Applejack, burying her face in her neck. But more than angry, I'm scared. This caused her companions to blink in surprise. What of it of, darling? Verity asked. Guys, I know I flip out over things a lot, but I still thought. She paused for a moment. I already asked Celestia this question, and I need an answer from all of you too. Do you have faith in me? Of course, dear, Verity assured. I know what you're talking about. And yes, that could grate on us sometimes. But I'm sure Celestia told you. We still shouldn't have had to use that as grounds to dismiss you. Whenever you flip out, as you put it, it's hardly on that level. The worst you ever got was that spotting pants incident, and we try not to hold out against you. This is a little deliberately Twilight. Well, I still get pretty crazy. And, well, a lot of that happens because I was worried about losing you guys. It only got worse after Discord. But this time, you all really loved me. No brainwash or anything. What if this just makes me worse? What if I slip into Smarty Pants mode again? That will help you get through it, Applejack assured. This wouldn't be the first time we helped a friend or something. Our own flaws have caused us to seriously hurt each other, Verity said. My vanity and fussiness has caused problems, so has Applejack's stubborn pride. Pinkie Pie has hurt ponies due to lack of control. Rainbow Dash can have too much of an ego and be too hot-headed. Flasheye has the reverse problem. You see, we all have our own flaws to overcome, and we do it together. Twilight stayed nuzzled to her friends for a few seconds. She lifted her head up and looked at her friends again. You guys, she said weakly. Ever since I uncovered the Changelings plot, you've all been telling me how wrong you were all to ignore me. And every time you do, it makes me feel sick. Five jaws narrowly hit the floor. What do you mean? Rainbow Dash demanded. Every time you do, it reminds me of what great friends you are. And then I think, dear Celestia, what have I been wrong? I would have lost all of you. This must be what Spike feels like when he's about to throw up, she moaned. Applejack nails at her friend again. Easy there, Sugar Cube, she said gently. I ain't all that buying. Yes, it is! What if my next freakout ends up doing something to get you all really mad at me? To Twilight's surprise, Pinkie giggled. Isn't it obvious, silly? Twilight looked at her like she sprouted next to her head. What? Verity smiled. Darling, I think we need to remind you of a few things. And so they did. First, of the conflict that broke out. How Twilight's 5 newly acquired friends argued over who got her extra ticket to the Grand Galloping Gala, and how she eventually broke into a frustrated rant about how she wanted to please them all but couldn't. To realize her mistake and relinquish their claim, Twilight decided she didn't want to go, she couldn't take them all, sending her tickets back. Then of Applejack's stubborn pride during Applebuck season, where she worked herself into deluded exhaustion, causing many ponies to get hurt or sick around town. Finally, Twilight pushed far enough that she broke down and accepted help, deflating her ego, but inflating her knowledge. Twilight's first summer party, where Applejack and Rarity's agreement to get along fell apart through their constant bickering, breaking Twilight's heart. Then a tree fell into the library, and they worked together to fix it. The night ended with them giggling and laughing, for the first time as friends, not simply ponies with a mutual friend.
The winter wrap-up, where Twilight's poorly thought-out use of magic ruined others' hard work. Applejack publicly chewed her out, sending her off crying. The two reconciled later, the cow pony apologizing for snapping at her, the bookworm apologizing for breaking the rules. They both lay in the grass a while, enjoying the newly come spring. The Young Flyers competition, where Rarity let her temporary wings go to her head and entered, worsening Rainbow Dash's already serious stage fright. The end result was Rarity needing to be saved, and her humbly apologizing to her friend. For the first time since the group was formed, the two felt really close. Twilight getting out Ulysses as a second assistant, with Spike being irrationally jealous, fearing was taking his place in Twilight's heart. She dismissed those worries as something that would pass in time. Things boiled over and Spike ran away. When she caught up, they both apologized, with Twilight assuring she would always love him. Twilight's post-Discord breakdown, where all of her friends laughed at her worries, as justified as they were in believing them trivial. After the disaster, they rushed to her defense, blaming themselves for being such poor friends. Rainbow Dash's ego getting out of control, prompting the creation of the mysterious Ne'er-do-well to try and teach her humility. She learned her lesson, and the others apologized as well, acknowledging that perhaps they didn't go about it the right way. Fluttershy taking Iron Will's assertive seminar, which worked too well, turned her into a bully, setting Pinkie and Rarity crying. She was instantly horrified at herself, locking herself in her home. The three had reconciled, with Fluttershy coming out a stronger and wiser mare. The train ride to the desert competition, where Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity ruined months of hard work by giving in to temptation. Pinkie was quick to forgive them, perhaps too quick, but they were more careful in how they treated her in the future. As they finished off their stories, Twilight couldn't help but smile. Well, alright, but what was the point of all that? Twilight, all those incidents that ended with good memories, but they only came out after bad ones, Rarity reminded her. Yeah, that's the point we're trying to make, Applejack finished. We've all hurt each other, acted stubborn and stupid, but we've all forgiven each other, even if we had to knock the other down a blade to do it. That's the part of having friends. Try. Okay, no, it will be painful. We are all going to hurt each other even more over the years, but every time we do, we're just going to be all the stronger for it. We were all going to talk to you after the reception, Fluttershy promised. We weren't just going to abandon you after everything we've been through together. Pinkie chuckled. We were only mad silly. We didn't forget how much we love you. Twilight was crying again, though not out of sadness. You guys. Applejack nuzzled her again. Twilight, before you came along, well, we were just ordinary country ponies. Speak for yourself, Rainbow Dash teased playfully. The others couldn't help but crack a grin. But thanks to you, we got the elements of harmony. We've done more since then most ponies could ever dream of. Looks like there's going to be much more. And if it weren't for you, we probably wouldn't be as we are. You made us worthwhile, Twilight. Never forget that. Twilight smiled, then shook her head. You're wrong. Alden reared back and stared at her friend, the mouth hanging open. She went on. I've learned so much from you ever since we met. Growing up, I learned a lot from studying our Cadence and Princess Celestia. I even learned a lot from Spike while I raised him. Everything that I've ever done worth bragging about is because I've had one of you at my side, keeping me strong. It isn't me that makes you all worthwhile. It's the other way around. I don't want you to forget that. Almost instantly, the unicorn found herself in the embrace of her 5 best friends, each one crying at her words. She just smiled and allowed herself to enjoy the attention. Finally, they split apart. It was Pinkie who spoke first. Ooh! About a slumber party tonight! We can play truth or dare and 20 questions, and make s'mores, and the Rainbow Dash can pull a prank that costs us all of us to gang up on her during the pillow fighting. That sounds fun, but... They all stopped, turning to Twilight again, looking a bit alarmed. Is something else wrong? Rarity asked. Not with me, don't worry.
she assured. It's Spike. Haven't you noticed something wrong? Rainbow rubbed her chin. Couldn't think of it. He wasn't around when we all went up to apologize last night. And he was avoiding me at the reception, Twilight said worriedly. I know he's feeling guilty about not believing me, and I need to talk to him and let him know everything's okay. That's my top priority. I suppose, Rarity agreed, but let's all get breakfast tomorrow. I would truly appreciate spending some time together. That sounds nice.
Twilight agreed. Near's not in agreement.
After a moment,
Rainbow Dash spoke up.
Applejack? Rarity?
Her friends looked at her.
What's wrong, Sugar Cube?
Applejack asked.
Have you guys noticed anything unusual about Scootaloo?
Unicorn and Earth Pony looked at each other, then back to their friend.
What do you mean?
The Pegasus quickly told her friends about what happened last night with her number one fan. When she finished, it was Applejack who spoke up. You know, this could be just one of those things fillies get themselves in a twist about.
We assumed Twilight's freakout was about jealousy, and look what happened. I'm not taking any chances. Well, Scootaloo seemed fine every time I saw her, Rarity said. She never seemed like anything was troubling her.
I ain't something either, Applejack said, but then thought a bit.
Well, what?
Rainbow Dash asked, getting alarmed.
The one time I met her parents, it was when they came by to father to take her home. She seemed bad and antsy then. At the time, I was so sluggish she didn't want to leave her friends, but... Oh my, Fluttershy said. You don't think they're being mean to her, do you?
If you do, make sure you do the accusation better than I did, Twilight said better.
Maybe, but I just don't know how to talk to her about this,
the Pegasus sighed, rubbing her head with her front hoof.
Why not just ask her?
Piggy suggested, staying the simple solution as always.
Darling, if she was unwilling to speak last night, she won't be willing to speak now,
Rarity reminded her.
You just need to spend time with her, Rainbow. Be her friend. You can get her to open up and see how you told her you would be there for her. I guess that's a start. After I talk with Spike, I'll take a look at a few law books to find out what to do if her parents really are the problem.
Have an awesome adventure where you proceed to kick butt and take names?
Twilight promised. Hopefully it won't come to that, but best be prepared.
Amelia and Rarity will make sure our sisters are busy one day when you're ready. Give you a chance to talk with her alone, Applejack chimed in.
Can you make it tomorrow? I still got off the weather patrol then,
Rainbow Dash asked.
Ain't no problem. I'll just give Apple Blue some extra chores.
Cat Pony assured.
I did ask Sweetie to help me around the boutique after breakfast, Rarity assured. She always stops at the toss to help me.
Rainbow Dash sighed.
Thanks. Hopefully this is just nothing, but I'm feeling nervous after this weekend.
No one's blaming you there, Twilight assured.
Well, does anybody have happy news? Come on. I'm getting sick of all this gloomy talk. Why, yes. Fuzzy Pat's commissioned me for 6 new dresses for a charity auction he's holding. This reminds me, the next time he sees a Sakura.
Not really one to revel in good news, Pinky's mind drifted. She remembered her talk with Princess Luna the previous night, of the pinky promise she made. She debated telling her friends now. But no, the case is served to nerve first. She would then tell them, then her friends, whenever she worked up to courage. By the time the train ride had entered Ponyville, Celestia's sun was setting on the horizon, allowing Luna's stars to shine through. As they left the train, Twilight, Rainbow Dash, and Pinky's minds raced with their problems. Whatever problems the wedding had brought up, they were only getting started. To be continued, and the awesome families. And rest assured, I promise you, we will do it. I don't know if it's going to be in January or November, but yes, families will be getting read. Well, yeah! But for now, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, the review portion. Let me just start this off by saying, I think I finally now know why every time I found a Carolot wedding fic, it's paled in comparison. It fails to me. And this fic shows why. Because all of them can't compete with this. The moment this chapter came out, the moment this story finished, everybody who had an idea for a Carolot wedding fic, so just looked at this story and went, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this. Because this is perfect. This does it really well. It does an excellent job. Which is why I also fear for letting my brother hear this, because after so many years, I'm afraid it might hit Seinfeld is unfunny territory. This story is basically it. Mainly because it does what none of the other Camelot fix do ever. And I've seen plenty of them. And that is, it treats the material and approaches the subject in a mature and an adult manner. Most of the other time in Camelot Wedding Fix, they had this tendency of Twilight coming off as a whiny little brat, blaming everybody and not acting in character at all, just crying all the time and becoming the author's mouthpiece. And at the same time, never letting the main six have a word in edgewise or letting the main six state their opinions. Which sadly, to a reader like myself, makes Twilight come off as in the wrong. Makes her come off not as the character I've come to love and care about, but as a whiny little brat who can't face some big emotions. And what's worse, lets one incident get to her. One bad incident, and she immediately considers it the end of the world. It just runs off without even thinking. And of course, that's another thing that ticks me off, is when people don't think. The characters don't think, and it pulls me out of the story. Not here, though. This fic, well, to sum up what the author said at one point, isn't trying to show either side in the right or in the wrong, but looking at it both from a neutral territory, from a neutral position. And it does that so well, because it truly takes it from both a logical and emotional perspective. Because a lot of Camelot Wedding Fix seem to forget Twilight was in the wrong too. They don't say, hey, Twilight was acting like a jealous idiot back there. She didn't investigate, she didn't look up, and she didn't try to actually state anything. They're just content with just saying, Twilight's in the right, near. It also looks at their mistakes. It also paints both of them saying, look, you've both made errors in this, but they're perfectly understandable because you're all looking at this with hindsight. You're all staring at this with a hindsight perspective. And that's true. I mean, shoot, I remember watching the episode for the first time. And I've already showed you the story Wedding Blues, which basically proved why I wanted to use that. Because, quite frankly, Twilight was following that basic plot. You know, the old romantic comedy plot. Guy is marrying girlfriend. This guy's little sister is ticked off by this because she's jealous. Sees sister acting irregularly, makes accusations. Breakup. And soon, the guy finds out just how evil sister is going to be and ends up marrying that hot, sexy geek girl that nobody really paid attention to in the movie, but good golly, if I was in the movie, I'd be paying attention to her. Bonus points, if played by, say, a young Julie Andrews. But that's the way the stories go. The main difference is Twilight got changelings. and it became action adventurous.
But that's why I love this story so much. It remembers those additional points. It remembers those minute errors that happen and looks at it from those perspectives. And pointing out that, yeah, Twilight did kind of mess up on that. And while it shows out that the errors were also in the wrong for making those small little mistakes, it also treats them like humans and saying, hey, they were mistakes. People grow from them. People move on. Just because you have one little mistake doesn't nullify all the good that you've done. And that's another thing that a lot of these lesser Camelot Wedding fix do. They're all willing to just jump down the throats of their straw man and just go, oh, you know that one nice thing you guys did? Yeah, forget that. It's like they want to forget that humans are nuanced and real people have layers to them. They just want to make it general. However, in my opinion, that lessens your story because then all you got is a bunch of straw man arguments. This fic doesn't. Not only does it take the time to look at both sides, remembering all of Twilight's mistakes but her good points, it does the same for the main six. But it also remembers that they are close friends first, that they are like a family. There's a line up there that I read that really drives this point home, and I feel like it's a giant middle finger to a certain picture I found once where Twilight started blaming the main six and started acting like, well, again, a bitch. Where she started saying, oh, you guys would have abandoned me and all that BS. Nope. They laid it straight. They were going to go in and talk to her anyway. Duh! What makes you think she wasn't? Like Piggy said. We were only a little mad with you. We didn't hate you. We weren't going to let this one little flip out ruin all the good times together. And guess what would have happened? After they would have found her in the reception when they found her missing. They would have turned Canterlot upside down to find her. So what if she made a little mistake? They've all have. But they also realize that you grow from that. Again, the fic sums it up perfectly. We've hurt each other in the past. We're most likely going to hurt each other in the future. Well, we just grow from it and move on. Come to think of it, this makes me think of a Justice League episode that I really love. In it, Gorilla Grodd uses a mind machine to make the Justice League angry at each other. But come to find out, he's not brainwashing them. Oh, no. What he's doing is just releasing their ambitions. And they all start yelling at each other, getting mad. And they mean every word. Batman even says, we meant everything we said. And Flash asks, what do we do now? And Jon Stewart says the most appropriate line ever. We can forgive each other, and we move on. And that's what this fic addresses. That's what this fic points out. Yeah, there's a little mistake here. They all got mad. But now it's time to do the reasonable and adult thing and talk it over. And actually have a genuine conversation between two people. And it does it so well. From looking at Applejack's point of view to Rainbow Dash, rarities, giving each of us a chance to look at these characters and why they're important to the team. And why they can't be apart. Why it doesn't work if they're separate. Why they each support each other both emotionally and physically. And how they're always there for one another. That's what I love about this story. Celestia's moment is perfect with Twilight, showing her own faults, as is Twilight's, as she's trying to reconcile herself. In Outrage, we see why Twilight points out, look, I'm willing to forgive my friends because they've always been there for me. As I said, this is what the fic does well. Gives us both sides of the argument and makes sure that nobody is purely in the right or in the wrong. That was a huge emotional issue. I think I need something to cheer myself up. I think I know. How about we go for something a little fun tomorrow? Trailer. Who am I? My daughter. You do not remember me. I'm your father, Jor-El. You are Carl Zor-El. My daughter. Rainbow Dash. They could be a great people they wish to be. They only lack the light to show them the way. That's why I sent them you, my only daughter. Tomorrow, Rainbow Dash is Supermare! And join us next month, Fallen.